Item 10E, adopt a resolution authorizing the Transit Corridor Pedestrian Connection Improvement Project and appropriating grant and redevelopment funds in the amount of $350,000.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. It's a pleasure to be before you tonight to discuss the Transit Corridor Pedestrian Connection Improvement Project. But before we get into it, I just want to be very clear that this project is not connected to the Transit Corridor specific plan that's under development. They share similar title, and it does wander through the Transit Corridor. And while some design elements are similar with that specific plan and consistent with it, they are separate processes, and this is a sort of standalone capital project that is does not stem from the specific course. So there should be no issues with a potential conflict like I know there is for the specific plan. But to get started, the purpose of the project is to improve conditions for pedestrians along San Bruno Avenue, Huntington Avenues, and El Camino Real. And it's funded by a grant project called the Transportation for Livable Communities Grant, which the city had successfully applied for funding. And that program is sort of a Bay Area-wide program to improve transportation for communities, make it connections between modes of transportation more convenient, and with a heavy emphasis on pedestrian and bicycle use. So this project does just that. The last time Council saw this project briefly was in August when the Council committed for 3 different federally funded projects a local match and a commitment to complete the projects. This is one of those projects. This is also included in the draft 2010-11 CIP, which I believe you are under review. The reason why we're bringing it forward tonight is because we want to make sure we are on pace to deliver according to Caltrans' schedule for managing of the grant funds, which they are the grant fund manager. And so because we want to complete design in early winter, we wanted to make sure we're on schedule. So that's why we have a separate authorization tonight. The features briefly is a streetscape project. So we have street trees, some benches and recycling and trash receptacles, some wayfinding signs, accessible curb ramps, some landscaping and lighting features, and if funding is available, a public art option, any of which would be coordinated, of course, with the Culture and Arts Commission. Here is the layout here, so let's get it oriented. Up here at the top, we have the San Bruno BART station. Project area runs along Huntington Avenue underneath the I-380 overpass here, continues up San Bruno Avenue, and then we have along El Camino Real and under the I-380 overpass. The things that the staff is proposing to install are a series of street trees and benches and trash / recycling receptacles to create pedestrian refuges along Huntington and San Bruno Avenue. For folks that are already walking and to encourage more folks, these elements are known to stimulate pedestrian use and make it more likely that pedestrians will use those paths of travel. Underneath and so in addition to the pedestrian refuges and street trees, we'll be installing the most current accessible curb ramps. And underneath the I-380 overpass, try to do some landscape improvements and some bulb outs to make that area a little more attractive to folks who are passing underneath I-380 and going to the BART station. Similarly, on El Camino Real, I-380 is really a significant pedestrian barrier in terms of perception. It's sort of a darker corridor, not the most easy thing to cross for a first-time pedestrian. So we're looking at some potential innovative lighting concepts. Perhaps this is an area for public art. This is where Caltrans really comes into play. This is their right-of-way on El Camino Real. It's a state highway. So we'll be in conversation with them to see what is actually feasible there, but we hope to make some improvements on that. This is, like I said, is a grant-funded project. So we estimate about a $50,000 design and about a $300,000 construction. The grant funds the construction portion. So action that council took earlier in late summer to commit local funds matches the construction phase. So that's about $35,000 for the construction phase. But we think with design, the total sort of local match that we'll have to provide is around $87,500, which would be appropriate and is proposed from the redevelopment fund. Like I said, we plan to design this by early winter, but probably looking at construction to complete more toward the fall of 2011. And if I didn't miss anything in my presentation, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of staff?
If I could start off. First of all, $300,000, and I mean $297,000, $500 for 50 trees, benches, some bulb outs. Where do we get $50,000 in design for that? I mean, I'm still reeling over $20,000 for a seismic study in the fire station, but now $50,000 to place benches, to pick areas to place trees. I mean, I think it's a great project and a great opportunity for those corridors, but 50,000 could go a lot, big chunk of that could go a lot further than, more trees, more benches and things.
Sure. The trees and benches, that is the easy part, and those are most of the elements of the project. However, those are the least costly to design. The trickier concepts are the landscape bulb outs, which require a little more of a topographical survey to make sure that the drainage is right. There's also that sidewalk lighting feature requires more design work, potentially with an electrical engineer, which is a little more costly. And we have to walk this thing through approval for Caltrans. So that is a not insignificant amount of staff time that we have to do in filling out the environmental clearance forms, the field review forms, the application to go out to bid. Those sorts of factors are all a piece of that $50,000.
All right. Well, my main concern is that we did go through a major study for the transit corridors plan, and we do have ideas and recommendations and anticipate certain changes to those exact corridors. So I hope that the design would, coordinate with what is complement and coordinate with, what was approved through the transit corridors plan. And then in a subcommittee meeting just last week, I mean, we have to really start thinking about improvements in our lighting. So as much as it might be cool to have in-ground lighting or artistic to have in-ground lighting, I think the main key is to have adequate lighting or more than adequate lighting, especially where we have dark corridors, underpasses and things. So that's my input.
Okay. Anyone else? Michael?
I'm just curious, do we have any information on the amount of pedestrian traffic through those areas?
We don't have counts. We've done several instances of observations of folks who travel between the Bay Hill Office Park, the crossing, the Federal Archives, from those areas to the BART station and back. But we have not done specific counts at different times of the day. But at different times of the day, we've had those observations, but haven't been able to devote the time to with the counter and count the folks.
But there was a significant amount of pedestrian. I mean, enough for us to
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And I had another question, but I lost it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Action?
What's the action here?
I'd like to introduce a resolution. I think it's an exciting opportunity for the city. Both of those areas under 380 really need help, and I'm glad to see that we're doing this. Jim, do you?
All right. Before we take the roll, do you have a question on this, Mr. Lupke?
I'd like to, is there a public comment on this?
Go ahead.
I'm Alan Lupke, Fleetwood Drive, representing San Bruno citizens for good signage, SBCGS. Mayor, Could you ask the presenter to introduce himself, please? I didn't hear who that was.
That's Mr. Jim Shannon.
Who?
Jim Shannon.
Jim Shattuck?
Shannon.
What does he do?
What do you do, Jim?
I'm
Tell us exactly what you do.
I'm a management analyst and program manager for the Public Services Division.
He's a city employee.
City employee.
Pardon me?
Mr. Shannon is a city employee.
City employee, thank you. I love the item wayfinding signs. Love it. I've been trying for years to get installation of a wayfinding sign as people come off BART to tell them where to go to the bus station and where to go to the shopping center. And maybe this project could include signs to that effect. Thank you.
Jim?
Actually, I'm happy to report that we have a project that does exactly that, and it is in development. We have draft locations where those signs should be, and we're moving that forward.
Good. That should make everybody happy. And Councilwoman O'Connell introduced the resolution for adoption. Carol?
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye.